Hi, everybody, and welcome to Guest Safety Officer Lobby Group. I think it's episode 27. There was going to be another episode 27, but unfortunately that one had to get cancelled due to the fact that Gary couldn't stop laughing and corpsing every time we tried to get the show started. And saying that, we've got a good show tonight, very interesting show for you. Got obviously Gary's here, contractual reasons. I know, I say it every time. And we've got Dawn back because Dawn's got some very exciting news, or not exciting, but certainly very interesting and worrying news to talk to us about. So very quickly, Gary, could you tell us who you are?
I'm Gary Twining-Wright. I've been in the industry for over 37 years. I've done most things security related.
I'm Ian Fox, and basically, I'm a strategic risk management consultant, apparently, according to my latest blog in CT Insight magazine. Read it at your own leisure, people. And now let's have a warm welcome, lots of applause for Dawn Dines, CEO of Stamped Out Spiking everywhere, basically. Right, Dawn, what's been occurring?
Well, good evening, gents. It's lovely to see you both. And first of all, I do have some really exciting news to share with you, is that Stamp Out Spiking is now officially a charity.
Oh.
So, yeah, that is absolutely brilliant news. It's something we've been trying to do for the last couple of years, and papers going backwards and forwards. And then somebody said to me, "Oh, Dawn, just get a solicitor on the case." I was like, we don't have that sort of money. So between myself and our company accountant, we've been putting the papers backwards and forwards. And yeah, so that's fabulous news.
Oh, that's brilliant, mate. Gary, are you pleased for Dawn? You know?
I am very pleased for Dawn, and I think it's great news, and it's taking SOS one stage further.
Yeah, well done,
it
Dawn.
really
Congrats. Congrats to you and the team.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
right.
we're growing a nice little team together now, which is really nice. And we also had the other good news that we've got Jason Harwin, who retired from the National Police Chief Council, is joined on our board as well. So that's another bit of splendid news.
Well, it is. It's all going well for you. Gary, what are you doing? Why haven't we getting any of this? What have you been up to?
I can't tell you that, Ian. It's all security related, and I've not signed in. I can't discuss at this present moment in time.
Okay, Dawn, sorry about it.
That's all right. So yeah, we've been working really hard behind the scenes. We've been going around the country, training people on spiking issues so they know what people look like, what they act like. We've also got policies, procedures, an immediate call to action. Oh my God, I forgot about my other really exciting news. I've got loads of exciting news to share with you tonight. Last weekend was Rock Oyster Festival down in Cornwall, and we actually trained up lots of their staff on the signs and symptoms of spiking, and they bought stop tops, so they got the protective covers all there in all the different bars. They had their bar staff wearing t-shirts saying, "Ask me for a stop top," and they put our posters all over the event. So that was brilliant. And now this weekend, I'm going to work at Boardmasters. So we're actually into one of the biggest festivals in the UK. So I'm absolutely over the moon because it's something I've been fighting for so long. Because, you know, in venues, they've got CCTV and, you know, you should have your guest security officers, bar staff, all those people should be trained. And in festivals, that doesn't really happen. So Boardmasters this weekend, I'll be down there on Saturday and Sunday working, giving away thousands of stop tops. And so, yeah, absolutely over the moon. It's the first massive festival that said, yes, we need you in here, Dawn. So, yeah, so pleased about that.
That is absolutely fantastic. I've got to ask you one thing, though, Dawn. I've seen I've seen a couple of photos of you at these festivals. You seem quite happy when you're there. Is this really work? Because you know sometimes you know, you look as though you're having a really good time at the concert as well. Is this true, or the festival?
Of course, of course. You've got to have a good time when you're there. That's what it's all about. And it's also about sharing that message. And do you know what? When I went to Beautiful Days last year, I had the T-shirt on, you know, asked me for a stop top. And this guy, he was huge, like big Mohican. He come running and he was like, Dawn. And I met him on LinkedIn. And he said to me, I knew it was you. And he said, oh, I've been following your journey. Like, you know, how you've been banging on about spiking for so many years. And he said, I knew it would be you. And he come up and had a photo. And I gave him some stop tops to take back for his family. So it's lovely because people actually know who you are. And especially that LinkedIn family. I mean, LinkedIn's one of the, I love that social media channel. I think it's one of my favorites, to be honest.
Why is that? I mean, is not Facebook work for you, or, you know, YouTube, all of
Yeah,
those things?
I like Facebook. It's good, but LinkedIn, I think because people have followed my journey for a few years, I've got quite a few people who, like, you know, share my content and stuff like that, which is really, really nice. And it's what you put into it, isn't it? So you've got to, I mean, social media is like another full-time job, to be honest.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah. I sit here at night and my poor bloke, I'm like, you know, we're watching something on telly and I'm like, you know, answering social media. The adverts come on. I'm like, right, hold on. Do. And I've got, because we've got LinkedIn, we've got Facebook, we've got TikTok now. We've got, oh, we don't do Snapchat, but we do Instagram. And I can't master all of these. So what I've done is some of the youngsters who work with us, they taken on Instagram and TikTok. I don't even know how to pull up our posts. I had to have a little bit of tuition this afternoon. I was like, how do I find what you've posted? You can see them all looking at each other in the office, like, you know. But yeah, I think LinkedIn's just nice and easy for me to use.
That's all right. Well, it's whatever works. I mean, the thing is, Gary, I suppose we both what we want to know is, Dawn, what is this news? Because you've been on TV, and you know, we see your TV, and you've got some more stuff about, there's a big thing going on elsewhere, isn't there, at this moment in time, that's really in the news, and you've been involved in some way.
Yes, there is. But the TV, since I last came on with you, I went on to GBNews with Arlene Foster. She's been amazing. When anything ever comes up about spiking, they always reach out to me and they give me some brilliant airtime as well. So a big thank you to GBNews. I then went on this morning with Holly. That was a little bit scary. I was like, do you know what? I sat on that settee and I just had a blankety blank for a minute. They asked me a question, and luckily it was only like a millisecond, I think, and my mind just went boof. And then I was like, Jesus Christ, you're on here with millions of people watching. I was like, get a grip, all in my mind. And then by the time he asked me the question, I was back in the room again. So, but that one was a little bit scary, I've got to say. And then when I left there, I went back to my hotel room and I picked up all of my stuff to go back on the train back to Exeter. And I'd put something up on social media and that was on Facebook. And my old landlord and landlady from my local pub up in Heavitree, up at the Horse and Groom, they sent me a message and they said, oh, Dawn, your dad would have been so proud of you. And do you know what? It just took my feet away from me. I burst into tears and I was just like, oh, I just really wanted my dad to be around to see what I've been doing, you know?
Yeah.
And then I just, yeah, I got myself all worked up that I'd messed it up, that I'd missed a brilliant opportunity being on that, you know. It's like a really, it's my target audience is mums and dads and grandmas and people who watch that show. And that's the people that are going to share this vital information. And so I got on the train. I think I spoke to you, Ian,
You
actually.
did.
Yeah, I spoke to you, and after I spoke to you, I think somebody else rang me, and then I was sat there in tears on the train. I thought I've really messed this up. I've missed such a brilliant opportunity to share such brilliant awareness on spiking. Anyway, I got home. I was in a bit of a mood. I went to bed and just like rah rah rah, and it was only last week that we had the telly on, and my guy was like, "Oh, Dawn, look!" And he put something up on the TV, and it came up. So I watched it for the first time properly on a TV, and I was like, I didn't mess it up. I was like, "Yay!" So then I was all chuffed, and I thought, God, I've been really pissed off with myself for the last few weeks, and actually, I did get quite a lot across. So I was pleased about that. So that's my TV bits. But the other thing, which is, I had a podcast last night that we're doing on Stamp Out Spiking with a lady called Zayna Iman. And oh my God, do you know what? It was, I'm here to stick up for the victims. So we're a victim-led charity. We're here to protect, to safeguard against drink spiking and all other forms of spiking issues. And this lady, when she came on the podcast with me last night, it went on for about 2.5 hours, just to put it into perspective. I've never done such a long podcast.
Yeah.
And do you know what? It's alleged that she has been taken into police custody. I mean, from what I heard from her last night, she was a recreational drug user. She took some cocaine. Her friend got worried about her and rung the police. The police came round. Anyway, the next thing, some shenanigans went on. They broke into her flat. They arrested her. She was in custody for over 40 hours. And then she was taken from custody and she was put into a psychiatric unit. When she was in there, she was incoherent. They couldn't understand what she was saying. And then when she started to come round, they said, look, we think that you've been spiked and you've been vaginally and anally raped. And then they found out that she'd been in police custody all that time. So it's, Sky News have done a report on it. Channel 4 have done a report on it. And I think it's all sort of coming to a head right now. And it's the most frightening thing to hear that, because the police have just had such bad press lately. They really have. And then just hearing this, I was just like, that has got to be your worst nightmare. The people who you believe are keeping you safe are now got these alleged complaints, against them. And it was quite traumatic, to be honest with you. And when I think we actually finished about 20 to 12 last night on the podcast, and I sat down and I was like, whew, it was like really, it's really emotional, really emotional. And do you know what, that lady, she's so strong. She's like, do you know what are they going to do? What are they going to do to me now? That they've locked me up. They've raped me. They've sexually assaulted me. They've drugged me. And it's like, I just, yeah, but I'm going to be watching that space, obviously. And check out on Twitter. I don't know if you gents go on Twitter, but that's really her main social media platform. And I've been watching it for the last few weeks, and suddenly people have been contacting me about it, saying, do you know about it? And then suddenly people have connected us together. And she was like, oh, I wish I'd heard about you before. And I was like, well, I've been banging on about this for 20 years nearly. So, but now we know of each other. So, yeah, dreadful.
Yeah, so sorry there, Dawn. It's just to get a bit of context on this. I don't. You ready for? How long's this been going on for then? Sorry, when you said it, I thought originally, oh, this must be something that's just happened. It's on Sky News. So what's the score then?
30 months.
Sorry?
It's been 30 months it's been going on for. So
30,
she's been
30, not 13, 30, 30.
30, 2.5 years.
Wow.
So, yeah, so 30 months this investigation has been going on for, and she's been asking for the CCTV footage of when she was in the cell, and they've lost some hours of the footage. And when she went on to the Sky News report, just after that, the next day they said, oh, that the footage has been corrupted by the disc has been corrupted or something. So yeah, absolutely astounding. I was astounded. I just couldn't really quite believe what I was listening to last night. So we've been editing that today in the office, and I think it's now about 2 hours long, because and like we said, you know, Zayna said to me at the end of it, she's like, I don't know if anyone's going to listen this long, Dawn. And I was like, no, I'm not sure if they are either, but if yeah, it's like an uncensored version of events. So that should be out in the next couple of days.
I don't know, Gary, thoughts?
I'm not surprised, but I'm also shocked, to be honest with you. It doesn't surprise me, but for it to, as Dawn says, when you expect to be in a safe place and not being looked after, or not people taking you seriously, it just shows the system is breaking down again in places, and you know, it's not right this is happening, you know, especially in a police situation.
Yeah,
I think the problem, the great difficulty, and again, I'm probably going to sound as though I'm sitting on the fence there, and I'm not. It is, there are going to be bad actors in every single place. There isn't any doubt of it. And yes, and the problem, you know, I can turn it around. I already know of cases in the NHS where similar things have happened. I know of other places where things have happened in terms of security, in terms of guest safety officers, in terms of security officers. Any institution that offers itself as a safe haven, and then those bad actors let the whole institution down, it's so soul destroying, isn't it? Because, like you say, Dawn, where do we go? If we want to be seen, if security, if something, we've got to provide that civilized space. We've got to provide that safe space where people can turn to us and do something and know that they're going to be looked after. That said, there are always going to be people that will join organizations like that with a specific intent of doing harm, and that is the way it's always going to be.
Just to rewind a little bit there, Dawn. I mean, was she spiked in a venue? Was she spiked? Do we know anything about it? Was she at a venue where this happened?
She wasn't at a venue. She was at home, and she was high on cocaine. Right. Okay. Now, when I'd done the podcast with her, I said to her, "Can you explain to the listeners what that is for people who don't know?" And she said, "Well, it's like a stimulant, you know." She said, "You're hyperactive. You don't sleep." And she said the next thing, she's been practically carried into the police station. So from the police van, from leaving her flat, she's got a neighbor has got the footage. She's all, you know, I think she was handcuffed and taken out. She's all lively, and then the next thing, she's in there and she looks like she's virtually unconscious, and it's like, what? And then she's been held, like they've taken her clothes off, they cut her knickers off, and they put a big pair of shorts on her with a belt on her, and she's like, you know, she's suicidal, and they're taking her clothes off while they're putting a belt. It's just beyond me. It really is, and it's just, yeah.
I think it'd be interesting. I think it would, because I do get this. I do get what you're saying, but it really would be interesting to get the full facts on this, the whole build-up. You know, not just the side of it, because I'm sure she absolutely believes exactly what she's saying, and that she's recounting that tale, you know.
Oh my God, you want to
that
see
is
the
it.
footage, Ian?
Yeah, there's footage.
Oh God, yeah, there's footage of her in the
All right.
cell. She looks like a zombie. She's like, and she's, yeah, I've seen the footage, and you'll have to jump on Twitter and have a look. It's
What's the word is saying with what's the one, sorry, the one thing I want to ask then is like, is there any medical sort of thing that could possibly explain, is it possible to go from being hyperactive on, you know, cocaine, and again, you know, sadly I know exactly what you mean about the thing, to go from A to B, as were tests done to say, or is there any evidence or anything like that? Because this is a terrible tale, and it's got to be absolutely nailed down, hasn't it?
It really does. I mean, all she wants is the footage, and I've seen she's had a couple of protests, and what she keeps saying is, prove me wrong, show me the footage, prove me wrong, because this footage has just disappeared, and it's like, yeah, it's a horrendous, horrendous, really, and it shocked me last night. You know, after all of the victims that I've spoken to over this past couple of decades, and I've heard some dreadful accounts. You know, I've had grown men break down in my arms and just sob their hearts out and make me promise and swear not to tell their wives, not to tell their children. You know, you're both straight heterosexual males. I'll ask you this question: if it happened to you, I think I might have asked you this before, but if it happened to you, would you tell anybody?
I've said I've done this when been training. Most blokes I've asked, you know, when I used to train, is that most blokes would never admit to it, because it doesn't matter what they say. The unfortunate nature about men and their banter, etc., is it won't go down well. You can only talk to men, I've found, that are really, really close friends about those kind of personal issues.
Personal things.
You certainly wouldn't be broadcasting it or want it broadcast in any way. I don't know, Gary, you may be different. I've got no idea, but on that set.
I would say something. I certainly would, because I think we sat down and said nothing for far too long, and I think, you know, if something does happen, I think things need to come out and be spoken about. I mean, this is what Dawn does. You know, you find this information out and you put it out in the open. You know, and I think even when I was doing one of your courses, one of the things, and even on the previous thing you stated, you know, which went over everyone's heads, was, you know, when someone puts a drink without telling someone, that is spiking, isn't it? When you put the double in as a single, that is spiking. And, you know, you made that very clear in our very first thing. So I think it's important we do come out and start speaking about stuff. You know, if we don't, you know, I know there's different generations, bits and pieces, you know, some men won't, but I think it's very important. We, you know, if this stuff does happen, we need to talk about it, and it needs to be, you know, put out there so people do understand what's going on.
Yeah, Gary's right. So I just wanted to say, sorry, Dawn, I just wanted to reiterate and say an emphasis about understanding that even when you think you're having a laugh with your mates and you're sticking them a double in and everything because it's a, you know, because it's a birthday and you want to see it get drunk, have a laugh, you're spiking them. Yeah. That's the truth. It's spiking. And as I said to you on our original call, our first call, that it never occurred to me to think of it in that way as spiking. I thought of it as being totally malicious.
Yeah, you know, some spiking is done like because people think they're being kind. And, you know, one of my best friends, he's like, I always buy someone a double. I was like, why would you do that? And he said, well, I thought they were just saying, oh no, because they didn't want me to spend the extra money. And I was like, right. But I just wanted to say on that note that one of my friends who's a landlord of a pub, and he's actually given that up a couple of years ago, and he got spiked. And I asked quite a few men actually to come with me to Westminster when I was the expert witness at the Home Affairs Committee. And I said, look, would you come with me? He's a big guy, he's chopsy, he's, you know, confident. And he was like, no way. And he said, you know, and when he told me, he said, Dawn, do not tell anybody about what's happened to me. And I said, well, you know, were you assaulted? He said, no, I wasn't assaulted. He said, but I'd wet myself going home. And he said, and do you know what? It had to be one of my friends that done it to me. So this was in his friend's circle. They were just there all together. There was a big group of them. And he said, not at any time did they speak to anyone else, get drinks off anybody else. So it's someone in his inner circle who maybe for jealousy has made him, has put these date rape drugs in his drink. And, you know, he wet himself going home. He was in a hell of a state. He fell over, smashed his head open. And you know, and for that, and because nothing sort of really bad happened to him, as in sexually assaulted or raped, I thought that he would be brave enough really to come up, and he was like, no way, no. And I spoke to another few guys and they were like, no, 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 Dawn, you know. And I understand it's quite a thing to do, that, you know, to go to Westminster. But I've also, after that event, I've spoken to, you know, quite a few male victims and said, would you give me a testimonial so I could put it up on my website and be anonymously? No, they didn't want to do it. So I think there's only one or two guys. Alexis, this guy that I know, he actually came on my public awareness video. He got spiked in Las Vegas, and they were coming up giving free shots, and he done one of those shots, and then he said, God, I thought that shot was strong. He said then he started to go in and out of consciousness. He got thrown out of the club, and you know, he was in a hell of a state. And you can imagine getting spiked abroad. I mean, that was America, so that was lucky. It's the same language. But you know, that some of these kids that have been, we haven't had the evidence back now. On one of the Greek islands, 2 young kids passed away a couple of weeks ago. And I was talking about it to Craig off this morning, and he was like, Dawn, I'm frightened to death. You know, our kids are going away over there. And you imagine getting spiked in a foreign country where nobody speaks your language and you can't converse. It's difficult enough doing it in the UK where we're not adequately trained and resourced to deal with these crimes, let alone abroad when you've got no chance of being able to converse with the police, with the hospital staff, with trying to get samples to find out what they've drugged you with. It's just dreadful.
Well, Dawn, you know, obviously we're very conscious of the time. So I'm going to ask you: is there anything else that you really want to get through on this thing? Because obviously, you know, you can come back anytime.
Oh, thank you.
Well, yeah, of course you can. Yeah?
Well, what I would like to say to any of your listeners is that Stamp Out Spiking, now we're a charity. We don't get any core funding whatsoever. So we're asking individuals to become a member, and we're just asking them to pledge £1, because money is tight with everybody these days. It really is. You know, all the bills are going up and everything. So instead of saying, oh, you know, we want hundreds of pounds for this, and we want people behind us. We know that this affects men. We know it affects women. It affects, you know, everyone basically in society. And the work that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to safeguard for the next generation that are coming through. So if we've got any parents out there or young people out there that think, oh yeah, we love the work that Stamp Out Spiking do, please look on our website, Stamp Out Spiking, and become a member. And so that we've got individuals that believe in us. And the more people that believe in me, the more that it gives me the strength to go, right, come on, let's break these doors down. Let's get that law updated. Let's make spiking a recognised criminal offence. Let's get that training out there. Let's get the guest security officers trained. All these people who are in key jobs that can be the difference between somebody getting home safely or somebody getting potentially gang raped. That's how serious it is.
I don't think you could have, Gary, I've got nothing to add to that view.
I've got nothing to add for that. All I've got to say is let's get behind Dawn and support her. I mean, I'll definitely be supporting Dawn and send some money over. So, you know, if I can do it, I'm sure Ian's happy to do that as well.
Oh yeah, because I've got, I'm loaded, Gary, loaded thing.
So yeah, let's get behind this and put it out a bit more.
I'm pretty sure that we can do something, and we'll talk about that shortly. But meanwhile, back at the ranch, I think it's time to say good night. So, Dawn?
Good night. Thank you very much, gents, for having me on. The guest security officers, love it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dawn. Much appreciated.
Yeah, see? Peace out, people. Be well.